And we are back to What Did AI Say at VickyL-4AI on YouTube. Thank you so very much for coming back to the podcast. Gratitude is the attitude. Let's jump right into today's question. As always, we're going to start with Chatgpt. I try not to read these beforehand. Some of them I kind of remember from when I first looked them up, but most of the time I don't. But I like to kind of, read them and be surprised or, angry or whatever, just like you are as you listen to it. Okay, so here we go. Is there a connection between racism and deviant behavior? Again, we are starting with ChatGPT. This is the American AI, so let's see what it had to say. Yes, there is a connection between racism and deviant behavior, though the nature of that connection depends on which side of racism you're examining. Those who commit racist acts versus those who experience racism. Let's look at both sides. Oh, this is going to be good for ChatGPT. 1. Racism as a form of deviant behavior. From a sociological and psychological point of view, racism itself is deviant behavior because it violates ethical and social norms of equality, fairness, and respect for human dignity. I'm going to repeat that because I like that. From a sociological and a psychological point of view, racism itself is deviant behavior because it violates ethical and social norms of equality, fairness, and respect for human dignity. Woo! ChatGPT winning me over. Social deviance means behavior that goes against accepted standards. Racist acts such as hate speech, discrimination, or violence are considered antisocial, prejudiced, and harmful to society. Like I say, it's them, it's not us. In criminology, hate crimes motivated by racism are categorized as bias-motivated deviance. Psychologically, individuals who engage in racist behavior often exhibit authoritarian personality traits, bring it on, rigid thinking, a desire for dominance, hostility toward outgroups. Social learning influences, where racist attitudes are learned from peers, family, or cultural norms. Projection or scapegoating, where personal insecurities are displaced onto another racial group. This is so true. This is so true. Racism is an inward hate turned outward. I'm so glad I re-asked this question. Let me just repeat that again. Projection or scapegoating, where personal insecurities are displaced onto another racial group. 2. Racism as a cause of deviant behavior in victims. Experiencing racism can lead to deviant or maladaptive responses in those targeted by it, not because they are inherently deviant, but because of the psychological and social strain racism causes. This is explained by strain theory and labeling theory in sociology. Strain theory. Go ahead, ChatGPT. When people are denied fair opportunities due to racism in education, jobs, justice, etc., they may turn to alternate or deviant means of achieving goals, like crime, rebellion, or withdrawal. I think a lot of black people at this time are just going through withdrawal. They no longer care about racist white people whatsoever. Okay, labeling theory. Being racially profiled or stereotyped as criminal can lead to self-fulfilling prophecies where individuals internalize and act according to that label. That's sad, very sad. Psychological outcomes. Chronic exposure to racism is linked to higher rates of depression, substance abuse, aggression, and social withdrawal. Behavior sometimes misclassified as deviant, but rooted in trauma. That's very good. That's very good. that it recognizes that. Okay, social consequences. Racism and deviant behavior reinforce one another in cycles. Racist structures create inequality. Inequality breeds frustration. Frustration can lead to social deviance. Meanwhile, racist ideologies justify punishment and exclusion of certain groups, further deepening marginalization. In summary, relationship explanation. Racism as deviant racist behavior violates moral and social norms. Racism causing deviant oppression and discrimination can lead victims toward coping behaviors or rebellion labeled as deviant. Mutual reinforcement racist systems and deviant outcomes perpetuate each other in cycles of inequality and mistrust. For Chatgpt, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. Okay, let's go ahead and continue with Deepseek. Let's see what it had to say. Just a reminder of the question we asked. Is there a connection between racism and deviant behavior? Of course, this is a complex and significant question in sociology and criminology. The short answer is yes. There is a profound and multifaceted connection between racism and deviant behavior, but not in the simplistic way it is often portrayed. The connection is not that any racial group is inherently more prone to deviance. Instead, the connection works through several key sociological mechanisms. 1. Racism as a cause of deviant behavior, strain, and social disorganization. This perspective argues that systemic racism creates social conditions that make deviance more likely. Strain theory, this was by Robert Merton. This theory poses that deviance occurs when there is a gap between culturally prescribed goals, for example, the American dream of wealth and success, and the legitimate means to achieve them. This is good too. Systemic barriers. Racism in housing, redlining, education, underfunded schools, employment, discrimination, and the justice system creates a situation where minority groups are systemically denied equal access to the legitimate means, good jobs, quality education to achieve societal goals or the American dream. Result, this strain can lead to innovation, accepting the goal but using illegitimate means like crime to achieve it. It can also lead to retreatism, which is substance abuse. Never heard it titled that, retreatism, or rebellion. I like rebellion. Social disorganization theory. This theory links crime and deviance to neighborhoods that lack strong social institutions and cohesion. Historical and economic forces. Racist policies like redlining and economic disinvestment have historically concentrated poverty in minority neighborhoods. Result, these areas often experience weakened social control, broken families, poor schools, and a lack of economic opportunity. The high rate of deviance is a result of these structural conditions, not the race of the inhabitants. 2. The social construction of deviance, labeling theory. This perspective argues that deviance is not an inherent quality of an act, but a label applied by those in power. Completely agree. Power and labeling. Acts are defined as deviant by powerful groups such as political majority, lawmakers, and police. These groups have the power to create and enforce the laws. Racial bias in labeling, policing, stop and frisk policies, and racial profiling lead to the over-policing of minority communities. This means deviant acts like drug use are more likely to be detected and labeled as criminal when committed by people of color. Sentencing disparities. Ooh, Deepseek going in. Laws have been historically and currently applied in racially biased ways. For example, the 100 one sentencing disparity for crack versus powder cocaine. Oh my gosh. Too much. Media portrayal. Crime is often sensationalized and linked to people of color, reinforcing the public perception that deviance is associated with certain races. In this view, a young white man smoking marijuana in a college dorm may be seen as experimenting, while a young black man doing the same in a public space is labeled a criminal or deviant. The act is the same, the label and consequence are different. 3. Racism as deviant behavior. From a sociological standpoint, racism itself can be considered a form of deviant behavior. This is the same thing Chatgpt just said. Violation of norms. In most modern multicultural societies, the core social and legal norm is equality. Racism, which involves prejudice, discrimination, and violence based on race, is a direct violation of these fundamental norms. Hate crimes, acts of racial violence, and intimidation are explicitly classified as deviant and criminal because they violate both legal statutes and deep-seated social values. 4. Internalized racism and self-fulfilling prophecies. Stereotype threat. When negative stereotypes about a group are widely known, individuals from that group may experience anxiety about confirming them, which can ironically lead to a decrease in performance, academically, in tests, etc., which is a form of non-criminal deviance from expected performance. Internalized messages. Constant exposure to racist stereotypes can lead some individuals to internalize these negative beliefs, potentially impacting self-esteem and leading to self-destructive and deviant behaviors. Important nuance and conclusion. Let's turn the page here. Deepseek is on a roll. We want to roll right along with it. It is crucial to avoid a simplistic causal conclusion like racism causes crime. The relationship is structural and correlational, not individual and deterministic. The vast majority of people who experience racism do not engage in criminal deviance. The connection is systemic. The primary link is that systemic racism creates unequal social conditions, poverty, poor education, lack of opportunity, which are in themselves key predictors of crime and deviance for any racial group. The definition is biased. The very process of defining what is deviant and who is a deviant is deeply influenced by racial power dynamics. In summary, the connection between racism and deviant behavior is undeniable. It operates by 1, creating structural conditions that push people toward deviance, applying the label of deviant in a racially biased manner. 3, being in itself a profound form of deviance from societal norms of equality. Understanding this complex relationship is essential for addressing the root causes of both racism and deviance in society. That was very good from both ChatGPT and Deepseek. Okay, so how does any of this affect our daily lives? Okay, ChatGPT looked at it from both perspectives, from the person doing the racism and for the person receiving the racist treatment. And I really like how they broke that down. That was really good. But they both agree that there is a connection between racism and deviant behavior. And when you look at those who actually commit racist acts, the acts they commit are labeled deviant. So there you have it. I thought that was a very good question, especially for the state of things right now with so much division. But I just want us to be aware that even AI knows what's going on. So if AI knows the truth of what's being done, then you should too. Come on now. AI is just pulling from libraries of information online. So that means the truth is out there If you don't know it, it's because you don't want to know. Okay, moving right along to our positive saying for today. This one comes from Steven Pinker. It's a book I'm reading right now. And he said something that I thought was extremely insightful. And here it goes. Birds soar by exploiting the laws of physics rather than defying them. I like that. Birds soar by exploiting the laws of physics rather than defying them. I like that. That is so nice. Okay, that's all I have for you in lesson number 46. I thank you so very much for giving me another 16 minutes of your time. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so that we can continue to bring these excellent questions from Deepseek and Chatgpt. That's all I got. Peace.